Journey into the shadows of ancient Egypt, a land where monumental stone giants stand sentinel over untold secrets, and the whisper of forgotten pharaohs still echoes on the desert winds our destination. The hallowed tombs of kings and queens, and the chilling legend that has clung to them like the very dust of the ages, the curse of the pharaohs, from the moment modern man first broke the ancient seals, an unseen force was unleashed. But did it truly strike down those who dared to intrude? Or is this a tale woven from fear, superstition, and tragic coincidence? Picture this. The year is 1922. The world, recovering from war, buzzes with the spirit of discovery. Our focus shifts to the Valley of the Kings, where, for 15 years, British archaeologist Howard Carter, funded by Lord Carnarvon, relentlessly sought the elusive tomb of Tutankhamun. Many believed there was nothing left to find. Then, on November 4, 1922, a worker stumbled upon a step, leading to a staircase. Days later, on November 26, Carter breached a sealed doorway. Lord Carnarvon, by his side, asked, "Can you see anything?" Carter's voice, hushed with awe, responded, "Yes, wonderful things." The antechamber, illuminated by their lamps, overflowed with unimaginable treasures. It was an unparalleled glimpse into a forgotten era. But as the dazzling artifacts were brought into the light, so too, it seemed, was a dark promise, a promise of retribution. Immediately, rumors swirled, fueled by cryptic inscriptions supposedly found at the entrance. "Death will come on swift wings to him who disturbs the peace of the king." A chilling warning, initially dismissed as folklore. Yet, in the months and years that followed, a bewildering series of uncanny deaths, strange illnesses, and inexplicable misfortunes plagued those intimately associated with the excavation. The dismissive whispers escalated into panicked shouts. Was it truly a curse, an invisible hand reaching out from the distant past? Or was there a more earthly, and perhaps even more chillingly pragmatic, explanation for the string of misfortunes that befell them? The stage was set, not just for an archaeological marvel, but for one of history's most enduring paranormal enigmas, the unfolding mystery. The first victim, the most prominent, and certainly the most sensational of the alleged victims, was none other than Lord George Herbert, the 5th Earl of Carnarvon himself. He was not merely the financier of the expedition but an active participant, present at the dramatic opening of the antechamber. A mere 5 months after that breathtaking moment of discovery, in early 1923, Carnarvon was bitten by a mosquito on his cheek. In the arid Egyptian climate, such an occurrence might seem innocuous, a minor inconvenience. But the bite became infected, leading to erysipelas, a bacterial skin infection. His condition rapidly worsened, complicated by a severe bout of pneumonia, to which he ultimately succumbed on April 5, 1923. At the age of 56, the timing was uncannily precise, almost theatrical in its alignment with the unfolding narrative of the curse. The newspapers, particularly the British press, which had been hungrily devouring every detail of the tomb's treasures, seized upon Carnarvon's death with unparalleled zeal. They splashed headlines proclaiming Pharaoh's curse strikes, and death lurks in Tutankhamun's tomb. To add to the mystique, a particularly captivating and widely reported anecdote circulated. At the exact moment Lord Carnarvon drew his last breath in Cairo, all the lights in his house, and indeed across a significant portion of the city, inexplicably went out. And back in England, thousands of miles away at Highclere Castle, Carnarvon's beloved terrier, Susie, let out a mournful howl, collapsed, and reportedly died at the very same instant. Coincidence? Or the spectral signature of an ancient curse, reaching across continents and defying the laws of the mundane world? For believers, these were undeniable signs, irrefutable proof of a supernatural retribution. For skeptics, fascinating, yet ultimately explainable coincidences that fueled a burgeoning media frenzy. The growing list of victims and the escalating panic. Lord Carnarvon's death, rather than an isolated incident, seemed to open a macabre floodgate. The list of individuals associated, however tangentially, with the tomb who subsequently met with misfortune or untimely demise began to grow, feeding the public's morbid fascination and deepening the chilling narrative of the curse. Next was George J. Gould, a wealthy American financier and friend of Carnarvon. He had visited the tomb in February 1923, mere weeks before Carnarvon's death. Not long after his return to America, He too succumbed to pneumonia in May of 1923. Prominent men, both connected to the tomb, both dying of similar respiratory illnesses within a short span. The whispers grew louder, tinged with genuine fear. Then there was Arthur Mace, a key member of Carter's archaeological team, responsible for supervising the packing of artifacts. He died in March 1924, also of pleurisy and pneumonia, after complaining of fatigue and a cough. The pattern seemed undeniable. Respiratory illnesses striking down those who had spent time in the dusty, confined tomb. The mysterious deaths continued. Archibald Douglas Reed, a radiologist from Cairo who had meticulously x-rayed Tutankhamun's mummy to study its remains, fell ill with a fever and died shortly after returning to his laboratory. Was it exposure to a dormant pathogen released from the sealed tomb? Or simply the common illnesses prevalent in Egypt at the time, particularly given the strains of working in a challenging environment? Even more unsettling were the deaths that suggested a psychological toll. Hugh Evelyn White, another British archaeologist involved in the early stages of the excavation, reportedly committed suicide by hanging himself in 1924. In his farewell note, he allegedly spoke of being under a curse and that he could not stand the atmosphere anymore. While the veracity of the note's content is debated, the mere rumor solidified the terrifying idea that the curse could not only strike down the body but also poison the mind. The list continued to expand. Prince Ali Kamel Fahmy Bey, an Egyptian prince who had been granted a golden sarcophagus from the tomb, was murdered by his wife in July 1923. Sir Douglas Reed, a government official and friend of Carnarvon who had also visited the tomb, died in 1923. A.C. Mace, an anthropologist from the Metropolitan Museum of Art, died in April 1928, having assisted Carter. Even individuals only distantly connected were drawn into the macabre narrative. The famed Egyptologist, James Henry Breasted, a non-participant but a close friend of Carnarvon, also reportedly fell ill after visiting the tomb. Though he recovered, for nearly a decade, the curse of the pharaohs became a dominant cultural phenomenon, a Gothic mystery that intertwined groundbreaking historical discovery with a terrifying, inexplicable fate. Each new death, no matter how tenuous its link to the tomb, was quickly absorbed into the expanding legend, eagerly devoured by a public hungry for drama and the supernatural. It seemed to confirm humanity's deepest fears about tampering with ancient, forbidden knowledge and disturbing the sacred dead. The question lingered, heavy in the air. How could so many people, all connected to one specific event, meet such varied yet tragic ends? The enduring mystery. Howard Carter and the skeptics. Yet, amidst this wave of deaths and misfortunes, there stood a curious anomaly, a glaring counterpoint to the supposed wrath of the pharaoh, Howard Carter himself. The very man who had discovered the tomb, who had spent the most time within its hallowed chambers, meticulously cataloging every artifact, supervising every delicate removal, and enduring the constant strain of an unprecedented archaeological undertaking. Howard Carter lived a remarkably long life, dying naturally in 1939, at the age of 64, a full 17 years after his momentous discovery. His survival presented a significant challenge to the believers of the curse. How could the pharaoh's vengeance spare the chief architect of the intrusion, while striking down those with lesser involvement? For proponents of the curse, various theories emerged. Perhaps Carter's profound respect for the ancient dead, his meticulous and reverent approach to the excavation, somehow protected him. Some suggested he had performed secret rituals to appease the spirits. Others simply claimed he was an exception, the one allowed to live to tell the tale, a living testament to the pharaoh's capricious power. But for the growing chorus of skeptics, Carter's survival was the strongest evidence against any supernatural explanation. The scientific community, though fascinated by the public's hysteria, largely dismissed the curse as nothing more than superstition, sensationalism, and a classic case of selective memory. They pointed to several compelling arguments. 1. The high mortality rates of the era. The early 20th century, particularly in a foreign land like Egypt, was fraught with health risks. Infectious diseases like malaria, dysentery, tuberculosis, and pneumonia were far more prevalent and deadly than they are today. Many of the alleged victims died of common illnesses that were widespread in the region. 2. Environmental hazards. The interior of a sealed tomb, untouched for millennia, could indeed harbor dangers, dormant bacteria, molds, and fungi, particularly those like Aspergillus niger or Aspergillus flavus, which can cause respiratory infections or allergic reactions, could have been present in the air and dust. Bats, often found in such dark places, carry diseases. While no definitive link was ever proven, exposure to such biological agents over prolonged periods could certainly contribute to illness, especially for individuals already weakened or susceptible. 3. Stress and exhaustion. The sheer scale and intensity of the Tutankhamun excavation were immense. It was a race against time, a constant pressure to meticulously document thousands of artifacts, under the unforgiving Egyptian sun and often in cramped, dusty conditions. The constant stream of visitors, the media scrutiny, and the logistical challenges would have placed enormous stress on the entire team. High stress levels can undoubtedly weaken the immune system, making individuals more vulnerable to illness. 4. The observer bias and media hysteria. This is perhaps the most compelling argument against the curse. The immense global interest in Tutankhamun's tomb meant that any illness or death among those even remotely associated with it would be magnified, sensationalized, and immediately attributed to the curse by a voracious press. Conversely, the vast majority of people involved in the excavation, including dozens of Egyptian workers, other archaeologists, and support staff, lived perfectly normal lifespans and were never reported upon. Their healthy survival was simply ignored, as it didn't fit the dramatic narrative. The more tenuous the connection, the more it was highlighted by the press, creating an artificial cluster of victims. 5. Pre-existing conditions. Lord Carnarvon, for instance, was known to have been in frail health for years before the expedition, having suffered a serious car accident in 1901 that left him with chronic health issues. His recurring lung problems made him particularly vulnerable to infections. His move to Egypt was partly for his health, seeking the dry climate. His mosquito bite and subsequent infection, while tragic, can be seen as an unfortunate, yet statistically plausible event for someone with his medical history. The real curse, many argue, was the relentless media scrutiny and the pressure it placed on those involved. The constant stream of visitors, the hurried documentation, and the sheer scale of the undertaking created an environment ripe for stress and exhaustion, factors that can undoubtedly weaken the immune system and make one more susceptible to illness. In a sense, the psychological burden of the curse might have been as potent as any alleged supernatural influence. The enduring allure and modern interpretations, despite the compelling scientific and logical explanations, the allure of the unknown, the whispers of ancient magic, persist. For many, the idea of a pharaoh's spirit, protecting its eternal rest with a mystical force, is far more captivating than a purely scientific explanation. It speaks to our deep-seated fears of the unknown, our fascination with death, and our enduring respect, even awe, for the power and sophistication of ancient civilizations. The story of the curse of the pharaohs isn't just about a series of unfortunate events. It's a powerful testament to the enduring power of myth, the human desire to imbue the ordinary with the extraordinary, and the timeless mystery that surrounds life and death. It tapped into a primal fear of desecrating the sacred, a universal taboo that transcends cultures and centuries. Even in modern times, with all our scientific advancements, the legend continues to captivate. Hollywood has capitalized on it for decades, from Boris Karloff's iconic portrayal of the Mummy in 1932 to blockbuster action films. These fictional narratives, while fantastical, reinforce the idea that some ancient powers are best left undisturbed. Some contemporary theories, while not necessarily endorsing a supernatural curse, still offer intriguing possibilities that lean into the unknown. Could there have been unknown, ancient toxins used in the mummification process, or even a form of biological warfare designed to deter tomb robbers? While highly speculative, these ideas continue to fuel the narrative that there was something more than just coincidence at play. Ultimately, the tale of the curse of the pharaohs serves as a fascinating case study in the intersection of archaeology, media, public perception, and the human propensity for belief. It highlights how a few tragic events, amplified by the press and a cultural eagerness for the mystical, can solidify into an almost unshakable legend. It reminds us that even in an age of reason, the human mind remains profoundly susceptible to wonder, dread, and the compelling power of a good story, especially one wrapped in the enigma of ancient times. And so, as our journey through the sun-drenched sands and shadowy tombs concludes, we are left with a compelling, enduring question. Was the curse of the pharaohs a genuine supernatural phenomenon, a spectral guardian fulfilling a divine decree to protect the sanctity of a king's eternal sleep? Or was it, as rational minds contend, a powerful narrative born from a complex interplay of environmental factors, human vulnerability, the high mortality rates of the era, and the insatiable appetite of a sensationalist press? Perhaps the true curse lies not in a pharaoh's vengeful spirit, but in our own deeply ingrained human tendency to seek out the extraordinary, to find hidden meanings and connections where none truly exist, and to construct captivating tales that transcend the cold, hard boundaries of logic and reason. In a world increasingly explained by science, there remains a profound human need for mystery, for the possibility that there are forces beyond our comprehension, forces that whisper secrets from the distant past. The story of Tutankhamun's tomb, a marvel of archaeological discovery, remains forever entwined with the chilling legend of its curse. It is a timeless reminder of the profound power that the past holds over our imagination and the enduring allure of secrets buried beneath the sands of time, waiting to be unearthed and perhaps to haunt us still. Good night.